Okay, we're going to go through the essay writing process. The first step is to read the prompt. When we read the prompt, we're going to find a lot of information. Once we get to the information that tells us what we're going to write about, the benefits versus the difficulties of a social media-driven generation are hotly debated in recent years. The given passages address several of the helpful qualities as well as the downfalls of social media. We still don't know what we're going to write about, so we'll keep reading. Write an essay in which you take a position. Okay. Write an essay in which you take a position on whether social media is advancing society or holding back society's progress. Use information presented in the passages to support your points. Make sure to include information from all the passages in your essay. Okay, so now we'll take that information and we'll put it in a T-chart. We'll put the verbs on this side and the nouns on this side. So we're going to write an essay and we're going to take a position on whether or not social media is advancing society or holding back society's progress. Okay, so I want to do this a little differently. I want to put up here social media advances society. That's one position. Or social media holds society back. Those are my choices. Okay, so let me keep going. I'm going to use information, and I'm going to abbreviate there, and I'm going to include, I don't think I did say info, I want to say all. All what? All passages. That's really important. Okay, so now I know what I'm doing. Now, since I have to take a position, I know that this is an argumentative essay. And it's really important that I figure out that this is an argumentative essay, because in an argumentative essay, you have to have a counterclaim. In fact, when we examined the rubric, it said that a missing counterclaim would be a score of a 1. We don't want to get a 1 just because we're missing a counterclaim. So now that's all the first step of reading the prompt. The second step of reading a prompt is to flip the prompt. In order to flip the prompt, we have to go back up into the prompt and use some of the same words that we found here to write our response. Now, we're not sure which position we'll take until we read the text. So we're going to have to set this up with some blanks, because not only do we not know which position we're going to take, we don't know what the reasons will be for that position until we read the texts. So as we get ready to flip the prompt, I'm looking up here and looking at, okay, well, it's either advancing or holding back society's progress. So I guess I could write social media, media blank, advancing society because blank, blank, and blank. Okay? So I set this up as a flip the prompt because I could possibly write social media is advancing society, or I could write social media is not advancing society, depending on what I read. After I make my decision on which position I'll take from reading the text, then I'll also probably have some reasons why, or some claims why I believe this, whether it is advancing or it is not advancing. So now that I have set up this by flipping the prompt, what I've really done is set up my thesis. Once I fill in those blanks, it becomes my thesis. Now, when I get ready to read and mark my text, I want to make sure that I'm reading to find out which of these two positions has the most information for me to write about. So I'm going to make one more T-chart. And on this T-chart, on one side, I'm going to have this position, advances society. And on this side, holds society back. And the reason I do this is because as I read, I'm going to collect evidence for both sides so I can see which side is the side I want to write about. So, now I'm ready for step 3. Step 3 is to read and mark the text. When I read and mark the text, I want to make sure that first, all my paragraphs are numbered. Why do I want to number my paragraphs? Because if they're not numbered, it makes it a whole lot harder to cite evidence. Because we know that when we cite evidence, we have to tell where our evidence comes from. And if we have to count paragraphs all the time, that's going to take a lot of time. And we know that this FSA has a 2-hour time limit. So, we're going to be smart and we're going to number these paragraphs so that we only have to count them once. Now, I'm just about done numbering my paragraphs. It is likely that the paragraphs will already be numbered on the FSA. The samples I've seen show numbered paragraphs, but this one doesn't. Okay, going back to the first article, I'm looking for information that tells me that social media either advances society or does not advance society. Okay, so let's start with the title. Dutchtown aims safety measures at the feet of smartphone zombies by Washington Post. Then we have this picture and we see 3 girls all sitting next to each other but all on their phones. The caption says, in a main square in London, England, 3 teenagers tweet and message their friends, unaware of their surroundings and absorbed in the functions of their devices. Photo by In Pictures Limited, Corbis via Getty Images. So, paragraph 1 says, it's something we see all the time. A group of pedestrians stand on a street corner waiting for the crosswalk light to turn green. At least a few are staring down at their smartphones. Maybe they all are. They may be scrolling through Instagram. They could be engrossed in a game of Cooking Fever. Whatever they're doing with their phones, they're not fully focused on the traffic light ahead. A particularly unaware walker might even step into oncoming traffic. Well, that information right there, I think, is a good example of how smartphones are not advancing society. And the smartphones is not really what the topic is about. It's about the social media. But what are people doing with their smartphones? The social media, right? So, back on my first page here, I'm going to list Article 1, Paragraph 1 as an example of holding society back. Now, number 2. They have been described as smartphone zombies by The Verge, an American technology news and media network. The zombies have become a real concern, and one Dutch municipality wants to stem the problem before it gets worse. Does this tell how social media advances society? Nope. Does this tell how social media holds society back? Nope. We're going to let that paragraph go. Paragraph 3. Now officials in Bodegraven-Reeuwijk, I'm not sure how to say that, about 25 miles south of Amsterdam in the Western Netherlands, are piloting a program that they think may help protect such distracted walkers. At a handful of intersections around town, they have installed illuminated light emitting diode LED strips of light into the pavement. These are called lichten or light lines in Dutch? Ooh, that sounds interesting. I don't think it's quite yet told us anything about social media though, but I think we're getting into something. I don't think that's going to give me anything yet. Let's see. They use light-emitting diode, LED lights. An LED light contains a diode or two-sided tube holding a semiconductor. That is a piece made of metallic crystal. As electricity is passed through the diode, heat and light is released. Well, that's really a lot of really cool information about LED lights, but that doesn't have anything to do with social media. The light lines can change color and are synced with their corresponding traffic lights. As soon as the normal crossing light turns red or green, so too does the one in the ground. That sounds interesting too. Let me keep reading before I decide on that. Anticipating problems from trend the government can't reverse. The idea, officials said, is that people on their phones are going to be staring toward their feet anyway. Why not make it more likely that they will still be able to see the traffic light in their immediate peripheral vision? Oh, now I understand. The light lines are synced with the traffic lights because people will be looking down at their phones and now they can see the lights change color so that they know that the crossing lights changed. Okay, well these two paragraphs have some really important information here, right? Okay. So now, because I didn't cross that out because I thought, I think they're getting to something here. Now I have Article 1, Paragraph 5, Article 1, Paragraph 6 to add to my chart. 1.5, oops, not there. Oh, goodness. It's 1.5 and 1.6. These are advancing society. These aren't holding society back. Gosh, this is really a lot of creative problem solving, in fact. That's a really good way to solve that problem. Let's keep reading. The lure of social media, games, WhatsApp, and music is great, said Town Alderman Keys Oscom in a statement. It comes at the expense of paying attention to traffic, though, he added. As a government, we probably can't reverse this trend, but we can anticipate problems. Well, this whole "but we can anticipate problems" seems to show that they are trying to think ahead, and if they're trying to think ahead, then that advances society. Okay, well, then I'm going to put that down. 8. The project has attracted criticism from Veilig Verkeer Nederland, VVN. The group works to promote road safety in the Netherlands. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with social media. What you are doing is rewarding bad behavior, a spokesperson for the group told Dutch NewsELA about the light lines. Oh, so they think that actually holds society back by rewarding bad behavior. So that I'm going to put over here, 1.9. You know, if I end up taking the position that social media advances society, this would be a great counterclaim. Well, I'll just keep that in mind. Paragraph 10. Nevertheless, schools in Badegem, Rijwijk that are near the test light lines are reportedly excited about the pilot program. They are hoping it will increase safety. Well, this is advancing, right? That advances society, and the light lines are for social media users. So that's a possibility. I'll put it over here. It can't hurt. HIG Traffic Systems developed the light lines. The company hopes other cities in the Netherlands will be interested in the system as well, according to Omroep West. Well, that doesn't really tell anything about how it advances. It just tells who made it. That's nice to know, but we don't need it for our essay. Distracted walking incidents involving phones in the U.S. In the United States, distracted walking has become an increasingly serious problem. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, 5,376 pedestrians were killed in the United States in 2015, up from 4,884 the year before. Nearly 3/4 of those deaths take place at non-intersections. 19% occur at places where pedestrians are meant to be, including crosswalks and sidewalks. Okay, well, they don't mention social media, smartphones, anything in here. It's a lot of really cool numbers, but it doesn't tell us how smartphones or social media advance or hold society back. Okay. Paragraph 13. In 2015, for the first time, the National Safety Council included facts about distracted walking incidents involving cell phones in a report. Okay, now we're getting to it. The group found that distracted walking was responsible for more than 11,100 injuries between 2000 and 2011. Wow, well, all those injuries, walking incidents involving cell phones, and that caused all those injuries, well, that's definitely a reason that social media is holding back society. So I'm going to go back to my chart, and that is Article 1, Paragraph 13. And I'm going to put that right in there. Okay. The Council's list of pedestrian safety tips includes such age-old advice as look left, right, and left again before crossing the street. However, now it also warns people never to use a cell phone or other electronic device while walking. Is this showing that society is advancing, or is this sort of holding society back? Kind of seems like if people have to be warned, maybe it's kind of holding society back. So I'll add that to my holding society back, 1.14, Article 1, Paragraph 14. Walking is one of the best things we can do to stay healthy, but only if we put safety first, the group notes on its website. Well, that's really more about walking than social media, so I'm going to have to let that go. Lawmakers want to hold distracted walkers accountable. Last year, a New Jersey lawmaker introduced a bill that would have banned walking and texting at the same time. It would also ban pedestrians from using phones, iPads, or other communication devices that were not hands-free, the Associated Press reported. Violators could have been fined $50, 15 days in prison, or both. Well, it definitely shows dangers, but I'm not sure if it really shows advancing or holding society back. I mean, it is about banning walking and texting at the same time. And of course, I guess banning it might advance society, but then again, it might not. That doesn't seem like it's really going to help us, so we're going to let that go. Distracted pedestrians, like distracted drivers, present a potential danger to themselves and drivers on the road, said the bill's sponsor Pamela Lampett at the time, according to the AP. Lampett is a Democratic state legislator. An individual crossing the road distracted by their smartphone presents just as much danger to motorists as someone jaywalking and should be held at a minimum to the same penalty. Distracted by a smartphone presents just as much danger. Well, that sounds like it's holding society back. Now, that really is clear. So we'll add that also, 117. Okay, now we're on to Article 2. Social media's effects on young people aren't all negative, by Kaiser Health News. 2 teenage boys use their smartphones as they sit on a bench in Vail, Colorado. Photo by Robert Alexander, Getty Images. It was 1:30 a.m. and Anna was trying to keep her mind off her ex-boyfriend. They had just broken up. It was too late to call the therapist she was seeing to work on low self-esteem and homesickness, and it was too late to stop by a friend's house. Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with advancing society or holding society back. So Anna, who asked to be identified by a fake name, turned to her Facebook community. I'm having a really hard time right now, she posted. Is there anyone I can call and talk to until I feel better? Well, we've got social media, but is that showing how it advances society or how it holds society back? Nope. Almost immediately, 3 people responded with offers to talk. They were friends she had met playing Quidditch, a sport based on the Harry Potter books. She kept in touch with these friends online. Anna talked to 2 of them until she was able to fall asleep. Well, that kind of seems like it's starting to suggest that by talking on Facebook, it helped her. So that's kind of a maybe, right? So, but it doesn't really give us really good evidence to quote, so I'm going to let that go. Difficult for those with mental illness. I used to be very shy about posting personal stuff on Facebook because I didn't want people judging me, said Anna, who was 26 years old. But that night, I was in such a bad place, I was desperate, and I thought anything would help. Well, it mentions social media, but does it tell how it advances society? Nope. Does it tell how it holds society back? Nope. Okay, moving on. Researchers and writers often focus on the negative effects of social media on young people's mental health. Social media can drive envy and enable cyberbullying. It can also be difficult for those who struggle with a mental illness. Does this tell how social media can advance society or hold society back? Well, I don't see anything advancing here, but I do see something that holds society back. So that's going to be Article 2, Paragraph 5. So I'll go back. Article 2, Paragraph 5. Mental illness refers to a range of mental health conditions. They are disorders that can affect mood, thoughts, and behavior. Anxiety and depression are 2 examples. Many people have mental health concerns at some point. What distinguishes a mental illness, such as depression, from normal feelings such as sadness, is that mental illnesses cause ongoing stress and severely interfere with a person's life. Well, that's a lot of good information about mental illness, but it doesn't say anything about social media, and it doesn't say anything about advancing society or holding society back. Most mental illnesses can be treated with medication and therapy. Many therapists warn teens and young adults with mental illnesses about using social media. They say it comes with risks. Well, they mention social media, but does it tell how it advances society? Nope. Does it tell how it holds society back? No. Source of emotional support. Some academics and therapists see it differently, though. They have found that social media may also help improve mental health by boosting self-esteem and providing a source of emotional support. Journalists and parents should also focus on these positive aspects, they say. Well, goodness, if it helps, social media helps improve mental health and boost self-esteem and produce emotional support, well, goodness, that definitely advances society because happy people are productive people. So I'm going to add that to my chart. This is Article 2, Paragraph 8. Okay, Article 2, Paragraph 8, I wrote it here. Amy Gonzalez is an assistant professor who studies social media and health at Indiana University's Media School. She hopes we can avoid simplifying the issue. We need to think about social media as not being absolutely good or bad, she said. We need to think about how to come up with appropriate uses of this stuff. That's kind of interesting because if we can think up appropriate uses of this stuff, then that would advance society. And that goes back to something I saw earlier with the LED lights. It's a problem-solving idea. So I'm going to add that to my chart on the first page. This is Article 2, Paragraph 9. Article 2, Paragraph 9. Article 2, Paragraph 9. Social media use is now central to the lives of teens and young adults. Nearly half of all teens, 45%, report they use apps such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram every day. Okay, well, they mention social media, but it doesn't say anything about how these things advance society or hold society back. Gonzalez found encouraging results in recent research. College students who viewed their own Facebook profiles enjoyed a boost in self-esteem afterward. Users can build their online self in a way that shows off their best traits. This encourages users to remember what they like best about themselves. Oh, well, that's really good. Shows off their best traits, encourages users to remember what they like best. Goodness, that definitely seems to promote society and advance it, make it better, make it stronger. So I'm going to add that to my chart. Article 2, Paragraph 11. Article 2, Paragraph 11. Other studies reveal that people feel more social support when they present themselves honestly on social media. They also feel less stress after posting. Social support, less stress, that definitely makes society better. Okay, so that's going to go Article 2, Paragraph 12, over here. Okay. You get much broader affirmation by posting on social media than from calling a relative, Anna said. It's one thing if you text a friend. It's another thing if you have a bunch of people trying to help you out. Well, I like this concept of broader affirmation. Broader affirmation, meaning across a lot of people, and a society has a lot of people. So that definitely is part of advancing society. I don't know if I would use it for my evidence, but I can definitely put it over here because it helps me figure out which position to take. Okay, social connections not in your area. Matthew Oransky is a professor and therapist in New York City who works with teens. He said many of his patients find social connections online they could not find elsewhere. Oh, social connections online they could not find elsewhere. Well, gosh, that totally advances society. I'm even thinking about social connections that I make online with my friends who live in England. A long time ago, before social media, I just had to write letters. So being able to connect with them online is a lot better. Okay, so that's Article 2, Paragraph 14. Article 2, Paragraph 14. All right, and now we'll go on to 15. This is particularly true of teens who might have trouble fitting in, such as kids in foster homes and LGBT adolescents. LGBT refers to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. I've seen some of the really big positive, Oransky said. Kids who are isolated can find a community. Ooh, yeah, because isolated people, that definitely would hurt society. Whereas people who can find a community, that definitely helps society, advances society, makes it better. So that's Article 2, Paragraph 15. Young adults with serious mental illness also find social support on social media platforms. John Naslund studies these benefits. These people are openly discussing their illness online, he said. Well, maybe this concept of social support on social media platforms, it's not the strongest evidence, but it is evidence about advancing society because having support for what you are needing help with only makes you better. Okay, 17. Naslund admits there is still hostility online. Even so, social media postings can help create greater acceptance of mental health struggles. We found that comments related to mental health are overwhelmingly positive. People can learn how to cope with symptoms and how to find the right support. Well, that's a big one, right? Finding the right support, learning how to cope, that only makes things better. Wow, I'm starting to run out of room over here on my little table. Good thing I only have 2 paragraphs left. Use it wisely. Parents can and should help their children use social media wisely, experts say. For example, Oransky suggests that parents talk with kids about privacy. It is important for teens to know how the things they post online might affect them when it comes time to apply for college or a job. Okay, well, using social media wisely, is that going to benefit society? Probably. It doesn't hold society back, that's for sure. And maybe it's just about this part here when it comes time to apply for college or a job. That would help society overall if people are using social media wisely and, doing good things with it. So I can see that. Anna uses filters to keep coworkers from seeing her mental health posts. She still views social media as a way to reach out for support when she needs it. If you trust your friends, she said, I don't see why you shouldn't embrace the social media option. So social media as a way to reach out for support when she needs it, I can see that going along with the other things that we've read about, so I'll add that. Now, when I look at all the information I found for the advancing society side, I can see I've got way more information than I do for holding society back. So now that I've read and marked the text, I know what position I'm going to take. I'm going to take social media advances society. So I can fill in social media is advancing society because of blank, blank, and blank. Well, when I go back into what I've read, some reasons why social media is advancing, I could claim that social media advances society because of problem solving. I figured that out like 2 different times when I was reading. I wrote that down because I'll have to add words though. It creates, how about opportunities for problem solving. Let's see, what would some other reasons be? Well, where did I underline a lot of information? Let's see. Oh, I underlined a lot over here. And it was all about emotional support. Okay, and then I underlined a lot in that last section, which was about social connections. So I'm going to make these my other 2 reasons. My other 2 claims. Emotional support and social connections. Now I have a thesis because I filled in all the blanks. Social media is advancing society because it creates opportunities for problem solving, emotional support, and social connections. Okay, so now I've completed step 3 of the writing process. I'm ready for step 4. Step 4 is going to be to plan my essay. In order to plan my essay, normally we would draw a graphic organizer with boxes. But instead of having those boxes limit us, let's just draw these lines that would represent still those boxes, right? Introduction, body, 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 conclusion, but without actually having to close the box so we can use all of the paper. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my mnemonic, which is, this should be H, A, T, and then in the body is A, C, E, I, C, and T. And now why am I writing in this mnemonic? I'm writing this in because it works like a checklist to make sure that I don't forget anything. Because it's easy once you get writing to skip over something by accident. And we don't want to do that. Now, once I have filled in my mnemonic, the next thing I want to fill in is the thing I just finished. I just finished my thesis. That's something I know for sure. So I go back to my thesis. Social media is advancing society because of these 3 reasons, right? And I'm going to go ahead and put that in my thesis. Social media is advancing society because it creates opportunities for, and then I'm going to write problem solving above here because it's my first reason. And I know that my whole first body paragraph is going to be about this first reason. Then I'm going to write my second reason over the second area because I know that my second body paragraph is going to be all about my second reason. And then I'm writing my third reason over my third body paragraph because I know my third body paragraph is all about my third reason. Okay? So now I've got that all set up. Next, I'm going to go up into my introduction, and I know that I need my tag. Some people tag their thesis. They put the tag here, which is the title, author, and genre. I'm going to put my tag in the hook. Either way is correct. There's not a wrong place to put your tag in the introduction, whether it's the hook or the thesis. It's really up to the writer. But I'm not going to rewrite right now out the title or the author of each article because those titles and authors are not written with disappearing ink. They will still be in the article. All I have to do is flip back. But what I will write is my short summary. And the reason that I'll write my short summary is because I want to write that out so that when I go to write my essay, that I'm not confused. So my short summary, I know that both articles are about social media's effects on young people. So I'll just say social media's effects on young people. Now, since my hook is about social media and my thesis is about social media, my arch, my bridge also has to be about social media. And I need something that leads into the idea that social media advances society. So maybe I could say many people use social media to communicate. That is actually an advancement. And I know I already mentioned it, but communicating with my friends in England using social media is way easier than writing a letter. So now I've set up my introduction. To set up my body paragraph, what I'm going to do is start with my answer, and I have to first start with a transition. I'm going to use initially. And then I have to tell my answer. Social media advances society. Because why? Because of problem solving. So now I'm ready to cite evidence. When I cite evidence, I'm going to go back into my T-chart and see if I can find evidence from the first article, because I know I have to use both. And it says 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, and 1.10. So let's see, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Oh, I already wrote problem solving here, so I'm going to use that, 1.6. And that's exactly what I'm going to write in my cite evidence, 1.6. I will not write 1.6 in my essay. I'll write the words in Article 1, Paragraph 6. That's what I'll write. So I will not write 1.6. I will write in Article 1, Paragraph 6. Then, when I'm ready to explain with commentary, I know I have to answer the questions, why is this evidence important? And how does this evidence prove that social media advances? Remember, I'm always proving my claim or my answer in this case. Social media advances society. Then, when I ingeminate, I need a new piece of problem-solving evidence. Now, luckily for me, I saw that back in Article 2, Paragraph 9, because I wrote it out. So I'm going to write 2.9, and then I'm going to write why to remind myself to tell why this evidence is important, and then how. How does this evidence prove that social media advances society? Then I'm going to insert my counterclaim. And when I insert my counterclaim, I'm going to make sure that I am telling what the other side might have to say against my point. And what they might say against my point, I had kind of marked in my article as a counterclaim, because the other side will say that those lights reward bad behavior. So I'm going to use that quote as my counterclaim. And so I'm just going to write 1.9 here because I know I'm going to use that. Then I'm ready for my last sentence. And my last sentence flips my answer. So since my answer ends with problem solving, my top it off will begin with problem solving and end with my answer. So when I write that sentence, it will probably say something like, problem solving is one way social media advances society. Okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for emotional support, the same thing for social connections, and then I'm going to start looking at my conclusion. My conclusion starts with A for affirm the thesis, which means I'm going to restate my thesis from up here. Now, since my thesis up here ends with the 3 reasons, my affirm will begin with my 3 reasons. Also, those reasons are called claims, right? I'm claiming that problem solving, emotional support, and social connections all advance society. Okay? Then I'm ready to trim the point. what is the whole point of writing this essay? I mean, why bother? Or you could say, so what? Well, the answer to so what is that social media is not all good or all bad. A lot of people would say that the benefits outweigh the problems. So I'll have to figure out how I want to say that. I might put that all together in one nice sentence, but at least I have my ideas down. And then the last sentence is the call to action, to tell what it is hoped that the reader learned. And you could write, now the reader may understand, or you could write, one can see. And in this you could be a little tad dramatic because you're hoping to leave your reader with a really good impression of you. So I might write something like, one can see that social media can move society forward to do great things for all people. That sounds very positive and very exciting and hopefully makes a really good impression on my reader. Now that I'm done planning my essay, I'm ready to write. Let's do a little bit of writing together. Okay, remember how we said we'll start our essay with tag? We have to go back and write the title, author, and genre of each article and then the short summary. So I said I wasn't going to write it here because it's still printed in the article. So I'm going to go back to my article, I'm going to go to the title, and I'm going to then write the title. Dutchtown aims safety measures at the feet of smartphone zombies. Dutchtown aims safety measures at the feet of smartphone zombies by Washington Post, and social media's effects on young people aren't all negative. Social media's effects on young people aren't all negative by Kaiser Health News. Kaiser Health News are, what are they? They are nonfiction articles about what? About social media's, that should say media's, right? Makes sense, but I fixed it here. About social media's various effects on young people. Social media's effects on young people. I decided to add a little adjective, bump up my word choice. Various effects on young people. Then my arch. Many people use social media to communicate. Many people use social media to communicate. And now my thesis. Social media is advancing society because it creates opportunities for. Social media is advancing society because it creates, I left out opportunities for. Okay, let's see how it sounds. Social media is creating society because it creates problem solving, emotional support, and social connections. That sounds fine. Okay, so I left out that word in that case because I thought I'd maybe simplify it, make it clear for my reader. Now, let's take a look at that first body paragraph. I have initially SM advances, and then I have an arrow to problem solving. Let's see how that came out in a sentence. Initially, social media advances society due to problem solving. Okay. 1.6. Did I write 1.6? No, I wrote in Article 1, Paragraph 6, the text states, and I started to write it. I should finish that with you so that you can see that work. Why not make it more likely that they will still be able to see the traffic light. Be able to see the traffic light. in their immediate peripheral vision. In their immediate peripheral. Ooh, I'm not sure I know how to spell that. Well, I'm not going to guess and lose points on my essay when all I have to do is copy it. So I'm going to spell this out for myself. P-E-R-I, P-E-R-I, P-H-E-R-A-L. Vision. And I think it ends in a question mark, and it does. Okay, now I've written out my quote. Now, when I go back to my plan, I see that I have to tell why this evidence is important. So I might write, this evidence is important because it shows that a town took a problem created by social media and turned it into a way that creatively made life better. Okay, now I have to tell how this proves that social media advances society. So I might write, this proves that social media advances. This proves that social media advances society because thanks to social media, people fought outside the box, little idiom there, outside the box, to do something new to avoid a problem of distracted cell phone users. I might even add another sentence to help me prove that, saying something like, so by using their creative problem-solving skills, that makes society better. Or maybe just using creative problem-solving skills using creative problem-solving skills makes society better. I added an extra sentence. I still like it. There's no limit to how many sentences you can write as long as you're proving your point. Okay? So now you can see how I did that. I'm going to repeat the process with Ingeminate. When I give my counterclaim, I would probably, I'm not going to write 1.6, but I might say, some said, then give the quote, and then tell why, of course, that's not true. So in this case, 1.9 said, what you are doing is rewarding bad behavior. So my sentence would be, some say, quote, what you are doing is rewarding bad behavior, end quote. And then I would write, but they're wrong because using a cell phone is not bad behavior, and the lights are actually very creative and show society's strengths. So I might write something like that, okay? So now when I ingeminate, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to, now I'm ready to ingeminate. It says 2.9 here, but since I know I'm in the middle of my paragraph, I need to add a transition. So I'm going to say furthermore. Furthermore, in Article 2, Paragraph 9, the text states, quote, so let's find Article 2, Paragraph 9, Article 2, Paragraph 9, here we go. We need to think about how to come up with appropriate uses of this stuff. Appropriate. Ooh, I might not know how to spell that, so I better make sure I copy it correctly from the quote. APPROPRIATE appropriate uses of this stuff. Okay, now I'll go back to my planning, and I know when I ingeminate. Oh, why is this evidence important? This is important because thinking people are productive people. Which advances our society. Ooh, I kind of answered both questions at the same time, but I think I should still add how this proves social media advances society. Okay, so society is better when people work to solve problems. Okay, so that's my why and my how this proves the point. Solve problems, wait. So society is better, that's advancing, when people work to solve problems like, I'll just cross that out, like those created by social media. There, I had to make sure I got the social media in there. I stopped and read that and was like, oh, I have society is better, which how it is advanced, but I forgot the SM, social media. Okay, like those created with social media. Now I'm ready to insert my counterclaim. And I decided that I was going to use the quote from 1.9. So I'm going to go back to Article 1, Paragraph 9. And I have what you are doing is rewarding bad behavior. So I'm going to write, some say what you are doing is rewarding bad behavior. Bad behavior. Now I have to tell where I got this from. So in parentheses, I'm going to write Article 1, Paragraph 9. Like that. So I've still told where I got it from. Okay, some say what you are doing is rewarding bad behavior, Article 1, Paragraph 9, comma, but this is not accurate because using social media is not a bad thing. Okay, now I'm ready for my top it off. And I can see that I'm going to start my sentence with problem solving. So I will write problem solving is one way that social media is advancing society. And that's the end of my paragraph. So now you can see how I would take my plan and write it out. So here's my plan, and here's how it looks all written out. I will do the same for the second paragraph, and of course the third paragraph of my body, and then my last paragraph I will do the same types of things. So now before I call this paragraph done, I might want to reread it to myself. Initially, social media advances society due to problem solving. In Article 1, Paragraph 6, the text states, why not make it more likely that they will still be able to see the traffic light in their immediate peripheral vision? You know, when I read that, I'm not sure if my reader will know what I'm talking about. It almost seems like I need to explain what the problem was, right? So I might have to take this and maybe draw a little arrow and write something on the side, like a Dutch town had a problem with distracted walkers using cell phones, and they solved the problem I'm running out of space here by installing LED lights that synced with traffic lights, right? Now, you're probably thinking, Mrs. Spangler, what if I see that myself, but I filled the whole box? All you can do then is just try to fit it in, just sort of like here in between the space. So if you don't fill the whole space, see how I've got a little bit of space between the top of my S and the top of the line? That's what I'd have to do. I just have to try to fit it in there. Especially if I didn't have space on the side, because you know that on the FSA you can only write inside the box. But now if I read it back, initially social media advances society due to problem solving. A Dutch town had a problem with distracted walkers using cell phones, and they solved the problem by installing LED lights that synced with traffic lights. In Article 1, Paragraph 6, the text states, why not make it more likely that they will still be able to see the traffic light in their immediate peripheral vision? This evidence is important because it shows that a town took a problem created by social media and turned it into a way that creatively made life better. Now it all makes sense. Without this little explanation of what the problem solving is, it doesn't really make sense. So it's a good thing I went back and reread this before I went on to my next paragraph, so that I can make sure that between my first sentence and my cite evidence, that if I am going to need to explain what emotional support is, that I'll be able to do that. Because as you know, this is the minimum number of sentences that you need. You can have as many as you want. This is just the smallest amount. So you always want to make sure that what you've written will make sense to a reader, someone who's just reading your essay. They're not reading the text and saying, oh, well, I know what she means because I read the texts. No, it actually has to be written here. That's what they're grading. So that's a really important last step before you go on to your next body paragraph. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've shown you all 4 steps of the writing process for writing an essay. Now it's your turn. Good luck.